Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Hey, super quickly here, GamerSupps is once again doing Christmas in July, starting July 25th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to get a free gift with purchase with every tub you buy, then take advantage of this by using code OZ at checkout. Every purchase made does directly support the channel, and gets us closer to a shaker cup. Let's get back to it. This post was collected by Kofe. They do not have a tagline. The original OP is Stolen Money 11, posted to r/legal advice. Originally posted nearly 10 years ago. I'm in high school and money was stolen from my bank account. I need help now. I'm in high school, just finished my freshman year, and I'm supposed to go on a big trip this summer. I didn't have any way to get money, and my parents didn't want me to have a lot of cash, so they set me up with my first bank account and put $1,000 in it. Came with an ATM card and some checks. The checks were really cool. I never had anything like them before, but I was kind of sad because I didn't have anything to use them for. I had a lot of friends over last week and I showed them the checks and they all thought they were really cool too. I got the idea that I could give my friends some souvenir checks. I told them these were only souvenirs. We had a blast that day. I was acting like a billionaire and making jokes, asking people how much money they needed, and then writing them a fake check. I kept telling them it was all fake and they couldn't cash the checks. Because some of my friends are idiots, I got a text today from one guy saying he tried to cash a check and the bank wouldn't give him money. I told him, "What the fuck are you doing trying to cash the check after I told you not to?" I went to the bank this afternoon to sort it out and asked how much money was in the account. They said there was nothing in the account and that I owed them money for fees. I felt like I was going to faint or throw up, so I got out of there as fast as I could. Didn't explain the situation to them. I need to fix this without my parents finding out. Do I talk to the police first or do I talk to the bank first about the stolen money? I'm in Michigan. OP was urged to tell his parents but ignored all advice. He made 2 comments on the post. User Kel37, nope, you handed over a signed check and the bank honored it as they are supposed to. No crime was committed. OP responds, seriously? I told them they were fake. And as you've been told repeatedly, that's insufficient. You're going to want to get this squared away if you'd like to be able to open a bank account again until you're in your 20s. Failure to pay bank fees is a great reason for banks to report check systems. OP responds, wait, I'm going to be reported for something? Like with the police? Update post. Update, I'm in high school and money was stolen from my bank account. I need help now. Thought I should give an update. Thanks everyone for the advice. I still felt like I should try going to the cops, but every time I wanted to, I kept getting nervous and chickened out. That lasted about a day. Then it turns out my dad looked, got a call from the bank, and he went absolutely apeshit. They stopped all checks and took my checkbook away. I have no idea if they got the money back from my friends. My dad left for work for a week, and he's not talking to me. I probably won't see him for a while because I leave for my trip this week and I'll be gone for a while. I'm only getting $300 for the trip this time instead of $1,000, but I guess it makes sense that I'm punished somehow. Biggest lesson learned? Don't mess around with a checkbook, or if you need to, make sure to write void on the checks. Selected comment. Panic Bread. You were planning to go to the cops to tell them your friends cashed checks you wrote them? They would have laughed at you. Did you not learn anything from all the advice you got here the last time? OP responds, how could it hurt? I wanted to use up all my options before I had to tell my parents. It didn't matter though because my dad found out anyway and I didn't actually make it to the police. Narrator, he did not learn his lesson. Let that be a quite obvious lesson to everyone in the audience. If you have a check and you write a check to someone, it's valid unless you write void. Doesn't matter if you tell them it's a fake check or not. If you wrote it and signed it, that fucker's valid. Like, don't do that. I feel bad because this is just a kid that got caught up in the moment, but like at the same time, like, dude, I guess you also learned who your friends really are because those fuckers went right to the bank to cash those checks immediately. No questions asked. Like, damn, they really did put a price on friendship. Good God. But yeah, let this be a lesson to you, OP, as well as anyone in the audience. Don't write a check if you don't mean it. Because if you can simply claim, oh, well, it's supposed to be a souvenir check, or, oh, it's a fake check, and I told them that. What's stopping literally anyone from saying that about literally any check ever written? When you sign it, that is you guaranteeing the authenticity of that check and your intent to honor it. OP is lucky that he didn't get hit with check fraud. This post was collected by a deleted user. The original OP is ConcernedFather202. Posted to r/AmITheAsshole October 26th, 2022. Am I the asshole? Daughter and I are fighting over clothes, food, curfew, everything. Anonymous account because my daughter is often on Reddit. I, male 59, have a daughter, 24 female, named Jen. Growing up, I worked a lot and missed out on school events, meetings, etc. I also had a stressful job I hated and anger issues back then, so Jen and I were rocky for the first 18 years. Jen went out of state for college and never spoke to me, not even if I offered to pay for books or rent or anything. When she visited for holidays, she stayed with my ex-wife and her new husband. Jen came back to our city for work last year and started law school last month. My ex-wife and Jen are still very close, but my ex is remarried and is currently taking care of her husband's elderly father, who lives with them. So Jen has to live with me as she is unable to work this year due to starting law school. She pays for her own groceries, we have different tastes, and utilities. I don't need the money, but she insisted. She's cordial with me, but we don't interact like father and daughter should. We're like strained roommates. Some issues we have are, Jen wears sweatpants and t-shirts to school. I nicely offered to take her shopping for some smart suits, skirts, blouses, etc. so she can fit in. She said no and continues to dress like a slob every day for class. I don't know much about lawyers, but I'm pretty sure you can't wear sweatpants to court. I noticed Jen makes herself an omelet every day, so I started making omelets for her before she gets up so she doesn't need to burn herself. But she says she doesn't like my omelets and asks me to stop cooking for her. This hurt me greatly, as she used to beg for my omelets when she was little. Jen comes home after 8 p.m. every single day. She tells me she's studying at the school or going to the gym, but now that the days are getting darker earlier, she needs to be home earlier because I worry about her getting into an accident or worse. She has a desk in her room and can study here. So take into account all these issues we're having, and then last Friday, 10/21, she comes home at 9 p.m. when it was pitch black and says she was at the bar with some classmates. No text from her, no call, nothing, and she wasn't even studying. I tried to have a calm conversation with her about my concerns, but she yelled at me that she's allowed to socialize with her peers after midterm exams. I understand this, but school comes first, not drinks. And she should have let me know what she was doing. Jen then grabbed her keys and tried to leave, but I held my ground in front of the door, begging her not to drive drunk and in the dark. She ended up just going to her room for the night. We didn't speak all weekend and she continues to come home after dark every night. I'm very concerned for my daughter and I'm worried law school may be too hard on her. However, I don't want to have another blow up with her like we did on Friday. Reddit, am I the asshole for fighting with my daughter over every little thing when really I'm just concerned for her? So before we continue on this saga, I just want to say, your daughter finished her midterms, went to go get drinks, and your response is, you shouldn't be having drinks, you should be studying. She finished her midterms. There's nothing to study. Let her enjoy her time. She's an adult, she's 24, and you are being way too controlling. Post 2. How do I, 59 male, repair my relationship with my 24-year-old daughter? October 28th, 2022. My daughter, Jen, has been living with me since starting law school this fall. We've gotten into constant blow-up fights about her coming home late and not eating breakfast I make her. I posted about this on a different sub earlier this week and got voted the asshole. People said I cannot control my daughter's curfew, nor how she presents herself to the world. So I need to let her make her own mistakes, I suppose. So now that I'm the asshole, I need advice on how to fix things. I refuse to lose my daughter. Since the big blow-up last Friday, when I caught her coming home drunk and admonished her accordingly, we continued to tiptoe around each other. I have knocked on her door a few times around bedtime to see if we can talk, but she doesn't answer, and she's locked her door so I can't enter her bedroom. She now leaves for class before I get up and comes home around 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. sometimes. I greet her every evening as I'm unable to go to sleep if she isn't home. I no longer enforce a curfew. But she just blows past me into her room. If she cooks for herself, it's when I'm sleeping or at work. I can't keep living like this. She's like a stranger to me. We used to get along when she was a little girl, then around 13 to 14 years old, she became horrible to me. Wouldn't let me hug her, kiss her. One time she even screamed at me because I put some food on her plate during dinner. I acknowledge my previous faults and failures as a father, but I attended therapy during my divorce and only stopped because of the pandemic. She's still holding on to past impressions of me, and I'm worried that she will not see that I have changed and I'm trying to do better. This morning, I intercepted her while she was eating breakfast before class. I tried to strike up a conversation with her, and she just ignored me on her phone. The old me would have taken her phone and thrown it at the wall. As I said, I had previous faults, but I successfully restrained myself and let her be. I no longer make her omelets, but I put out bowls of fruit for her which she never touches. So Reddit, please offer me some advice. I'm not a bad man, and if I am, I genuinely am trying to change. I need to talk to my daughter, and I'm terrified that it may be too late. Post number 3. Daughter, 24 female, finally spoke to me, male 59. Feels like our relationship is repairable. Posted November 2nd, 2022. If you read my last 2 posts, you'll be able to get a better sense of my situation. After a Cold War that lasted over a week, I decided I had enough and waited for her outside her bedroom. She eventually came out, and I asked if we could talk. I first told her that I was sorry for treating her like a child when she is a capable adult in graduate school. I then told her if she can't treat me like a daughter should treat a father, we would need to look into getting her to move out and find a roommate, as she wouldn't be able to stay with me anymore. I ended up saying I would not be ignored in my own house, as a commenter on my previous post pointed out. She was quiet, but then said, "Okay, sure. Sorry, Dad." I opened my arms for a hug, but she pushed past me. I admit the hug was a little optimistic on my part, but I understand she needs time, and I didn't press it. We're now on speaking terms again. We say good mornings and good nights, which is better than it has been this past week. In return, I have stopped cooking for her altogether, and I no longer expect her home at a certain hour. She texts me when she's heading home, which I consider a win. I have vowed to be a better father to her, which I hope she is seeing. I'm hopeful about the future. Post 4. Is my adult daughter, 24 female, taking advantage of me? 59 male. We argued over tea for God's sake. Posted November 5th, 2022. Please check my other posts for context. I'm trying out different subreddits so I can gain a broader amount of feedback and advice. Things have been better since we spoke earlier this week, but Jen, fake name for my daughter, is still awkward around me, despite my apologizing for my recent behavior. I feel that an incident this morning has stunted any improvement in our relationship. So, around 9 a.m., she starts making breakfast in the kitchen. I come out, and we chat for a bit. She has class at 11 today. I see she has the kettle going, and next to it is a cup with a tea bag in it. Since she is busy cooking, I go to the fridge, get the milk, and pour some into the bottom of her cup to take an extra step off her hands. Simple, right? Well, she gets an attitude with me. Says she likes to put the hot water over the tea bag, let it sit for a few minutes, and then add milk and sugar. When I try to explain the convenience, she cuts me off and says it won't taste good. Adding milk before the hot water is going to mess with this super sacred tea-making process. I think this is absolute horseshit and that she wants to pick a fight with me. For the first time in a long time, I snapped at her and said, "Okay, you don't want me to cook for you. Tell me what kid doesn't want to wake up or come home to a hot meal." You don't want me to help you make tea. You don't want anything from me except a place to live. She said yes, that is correct. I sat in the kitchen in silence while she finished cooking, ate, and cleaned up. She also made a show of emptying out the cup I had prepared for her and getting a new cup and making tea her way. I was still in the kitchen when she left for class, and she said absolutely nothing to me, even though I was hinting that she owed me an apology. So here I am typing my thoughts about the morning's events. I think I want to ask her to move out, but I need to have a valid reason to do so, or I'll be the bad guy in everyone's eyes. Please let me know if it looks like she's indeed taking advantage of living with me, and if this is the case, when should I tell her to move out? If I do seem like I'm blowing this out of proportion, I also need to hear this as well. Thanks. Too long didn't read after an incident this morning. I wanted to ask my daughter to move out. Post number 5. Daughter 24 is moving out of my 59 male house. I thought I'd feel relief, but I'm not ready for this to happen. Posted November 15th, 2022. I don't know where the time goes. When your daughters are young, all they want to do is hug you and kiss you and crawl on top of you. I used to beg her for personal space. Then the teenage years hit and they want nothing to do with you. Ah, what a fool I was. I didn't appreciate her affection. My daughter, Jen, who's in law school, came to me on Saturday and told me she would be moving out this upcoming weekend, right before Thanksgiving. I naturally had a million questions, mainly, where is she moving to, and with who? Jen has always been secretive about her life. She said she was moving in with her boyfriend. My jaw about hit the floor. I had never known that Jen had a boyfriend. I asked how long she had been seeing this guy. She said almost 3 years. They met at college and started dating. He's a year older than her and works in the city. His apartment is located closer to her school. I wanted to vomit. First of all, I had no idea she was even interested in dating. In high school for dances and events, she never went with a date, always a group of friends. I would often ask her if she was dating anyone, and she'd just roll her eyes and look disgusted. I guess I just stopped asking after a while. I asked her when I could meet her boyfriend. Let's call him Dan. She said he would come by this weekend to help her move. I said she wasn't going to move in with someone I have never met. She said good luck trying to stop her. Is that a challenge, Jen? I asked how she would be paying for this apartment. The city we live in isn't cheap. That's why I live in the suburbs. She said Dan's family owns the apartment. They own a few different properties, and that her and Dan would split expenses and utilities. She worked throughout college and for a year after college, but I didn't think she made that much money. I don't know this guy. She wouldn't even give me a last name. I thought about calling my ex to see if she knew about this, but to be honest, I don't think I could bear her telling me she knows about Dan while I have just found out about this. I'm so embarrassed to say that I'm just not comfortable of her moving in with a boyfriend. My daughter, despite wanting to be a lawyer, is not the brightest bulb. She was a solid B student in middle school, and to my knowledge, she was never on any honor roll in college. In other words, she's not very smart, and I don't think she's making the right decision here. However, I'm trying to take previous advice and not just jump the gun and ambush her into staying here. The other thing that really bugs me is I asked her if she would be coming back for Thanksgiving. She said no, she'd be spending it with Dan's family because I've never shown an interest in Thanksgiving. And this was the first time she was hearing about any Thanksgiving Day plans of mine. I mean, she's right. I'm not really a holiday guy, but I could have bought a turkey and sides from a restaurant if it meant that much to her. To be honest, I don't really know what she does, as we haven't spent Thanksgiving together since the divorce, but I'm interested in starting a new tradition with her if that makes her happy. I followed her to her room and asked if she would reconsider moving out in a year or so, only when she's more financially and socially secure. She looked at me kind of sideways and said no. then shut the door in my face. I am absolutely flabbergasted. I know I mentioned wanting her to leave in my last post, but I didn't mean so soon. It seems like my daughter is slipping on my fingers as I speak. I'm not sure what to do or if it's worth even talking to her. How am I supposed to deal with this? Too long didn't read. Daughter is moving into an apartment with her boyfriend who I have never met / just found out about. I have negative feelings about this. I need advice on how to tell her it's better to stay with me until she's more secure. Edit / update. I've read the comments. I don't want to forfeit a relationship with her any more than I have. I'm still going to insist on sitting Dan down and talking with him this weekend, but I understand that I have to let her go and she will come back to me on her own. Post 6. I'm empty. Hi everyone, please feel free to look at my profile for my previous posts. I, male 59, woke up this morning to an empty house. I stopped by the room that my daughter, Jen, 24 female, lived in until recently. She didn't take much, but it still looks different. She moved out on Saturday, put some boxes in her suitcase near the front door. I sat at the kitchen table waiting for her boyfriend, Dan, who I've never met, show up so we could talk properly. He did show up. He introduced himself, shook my hand, and then completely ignored me as he helped Jen move her things to his car outside. I remained at the table, staring him down so he would know that he was behaving inappropriately. He and Jen both ignored me. It took maybe 15 minutes to get all of our things. Jen finally approached me and said she was leaving. Left her keys on the table. I said she would need them to come back, and she said verbatim, "I'm not coming back." The emotions began to rise then. I felt unsteady as I stood up and opened my arms for a hug, as I had been doing for her entire life. She used to see me open my arms and run in for a hug, knocking the wind from me. She just backed away and held her hand out instead. A handshake from my own daughter. I've never been so hurt in my life. I walked both of them out. I said I'd be here alone on Thanksgiving unless she chooses to come. I said I would get her a pumpkin pie if she came. She said she wouldn't be. Didn't I remember? She was spending it with Dan and his family. Well, I guess that hasn't changed. I decided now was my chance, and I told Dan to take care of my daughter and treat her with respect. He gave me the smuggest little smile and said of course he would. I wanted to smack him in the face. I hope he feels good knowing he's manipulated my daughter into leaving her own father home alone. I guarantee things would have been different if he wasn't around. Jen then asked if she could come by and get her desk and chair next week, when they had more room in his car. I said I was going to burn her desk the minute she left. Dan said in the most smart-ass way possible, "Don't worry, I'll get you a better desk." Jen simply shrugged and then left with him. I watched them drive away, then the tears came. I cried all afternoon and a little more yesterday morning. I felt so alone. I used to wait to hear her footsteps in the kitchen and know it was time to get up. Now I feel no reason to leave my bed or even cook for myself. I sat in front of the TV with nothing, playing for a good hour. My daughter has abandoned me. I feel no reason to even live. I took work off today because I keep tearing up at random times and knew I wouldn't be able to concentrate. Parents who have had their kids move out, how do you cope? I texted her this morning, and she didn't respond. I don't want to overwhelm her in her new life, as there is clearly no room in it for me. But I need to talk to my daughter again and apologize. Too long didn't read, my daughter has abandoned me at home alone. I feel like dying and I need guidance. Real quick, see, it's hard for me to feel bad for him because anytime that I actually begin to feel like sympathetic, he then turns right around and just says some stupid shit or has this romanticized view of how he should be treated despite everything that he's done to his daughter in the past. He can't seem to understand that He has caused some serious pain to her, and it's going to take a lot of time for that to heal. But OP almost seems to want to exist in this romanticized view of what he's expecting, like he's trying to get time back that he lost when he was being extremely violent and abusive towards his daughter. A man who admits that his reaction would have once been to grab her phone and throw it at a wall has a lot more under the hood that he's not telling us. And I can't blame the daughter for being so cold to him if that's his admitted reaction when she's an adult. Post 7. I, 59 male, want to ask my daughter, 24 female, over for Christmas, but she has other plans and I feel lonely and sad. Posted December 13th, 2022. Hi everyone, previous post on my page for context. I've been busy. I started therapy at the recommendation of a lot of commenters, and I've gone to 3 sessions so far. I don't know if anything has really changed, but I'm desperate for a relationship with my daughter, Jen. I spent a lonely Thanksgiving by myself. The morning of, I sent Jen one last text inviting her over, but she never responded. I called the number and got her voicemail, so I know her phone was working. I was in a dark place for a while. I'm still not happy with her living with her boyfriend, but I've chosen to let this go for now, despite the disrespect he showed me when they moved her stuff out of my house. She's free to make her own mistakes, as people on Reddit pointed out. I've texted her about once a day since she left, usually just a hi or a love you, or even sometimes just a smiley face emoji to know I've been thinking about her. I didn't expect her to always respond, but she hasn't even responded to one text. Until today, my therapist suggested asking her and her boyfriend Dan over for Christmas. I really don't want Dan back into my house, but I need to see Jen. So I hemmed and hawed and decided I'd make that sacrifice. So I texted her this morning with an invite extended to both her and Dan. She responded about an hour ago that her and Dan would be spending Christmas in Mexico and wouldn't be back until the new year. I immediately tried to call her, which she didn't answer. I texted her that sounded like an expensive trip that she can't afford, and that she should take her winter break to prepare for the next semester. She didn't respond. So I panicked and told her that if she went, I would call the cops and have Dan arrested for kidnapping. After I sent this, I immediately felt regret and shame and sent her an apology text that I didn't mean what I said. I'm just worried she's not being safe, and 8 days in Mexico is a long time. She hasn't responded to my apology yet. I'm worried I blew my chance at getting back together with her for the holidays. I don't know if I can do another holiday by myself, especially with seeing families come together and enjoy themselves. Any advice would be appreciated. Too long didn't read. I want to invite my daughter over for the holidays, but she's going out of town with her boyfriend who I don't like. Should I let this go or try to change her mind? On a personal note from the OP who posted this collection, too long didn't read, I can see why he's divorced. Comments. Gathered by u/Rahonen. Some great comments from him. From the first post. Doesn't know anything about law school. OP replies, classes that will eventually allow her to get into court. It's important that she dresses properly in case she meets a future employer or judge. Hell, it's important she dresses properly so her teachers and colleagues will take her seriously. She's not in college anymore. A commenter replied, nobody dresses professionally to attend classes unless it's mandatory. OP then replied, I doubt your use of nobody. Nobody wants to appear well-groomed and presentable at school. This isn't college, this is law school. People are all about opinions and first impressions. No one will hire her if she's dressed like a slob. The commenter replied back, that is a complete lie. How much experience do you have in law school? Daddy Dearest replies, so if you were interviewing someone for a job and they showed up in pajamas, you wouldn't find that detrimental to them? He's missing the entire point that it's not a job interview, it's just classes. Any law students who might be watching this, I'd be curious to hear from you guys if Daddy Dearest is actually correct here, or if, it is normal just to dress casually in sweats and whatnot. Still on story 1 in regards to a curfew being 6 p.m. Forgetting about headlights existing. OP replies, It's not the time that bothers me, but it's how dark it gets. We're in the Midwest and the sun goes down around 6 p.m. now. Anyone would agree that it's not safe for anyone to drive when it's that dark out. Comments talking about, he's not controlling her, only helping her. Totally not oblivious, OP replies, I'm not controlling her. All of these were suggestions I made and she chose to ignore them. But we need to have a conversation about why she wants to ignore my help. OP replies, I am definitely trying to make up for it. I want her to be successful and focus on school, but part of that comes with presenting yourself in a positive light. I make her breakfast so she doesn't need to wake up early and do it herself, but she doesn't see that I'm trying to help her. Comments from the second post. Commenter saying he only sees her as a little girl. OP replies, I do think I was wrong, maybe it was delayed, but I realize how I cannot control her, and that to me, she's still a little girl. But I understand I need to take some steps back, but I need to show her how sorry I am. I just don't know how I can get that message across. Commenters asking about throwing phones at the wall. OP replies, I've never thrown anyone's phone at the wall. I've only done it once when she was in high school. And painting her nails with polish, and the smell made me sick. But she wouldn't go in her room to do it. So I took the bottle and threw it out the front door, but that was only one time, and she didn't seem all that fazed by it. A commenter wisely replies, yeah, you're an abusive father. 3 days of a few apologies is nowhere near enough. OP replies, I may have been abusive, but I have changed. From the third and fourth post, not realizing he's a jerk. OP replies, I don't understand how I continue to treat her like shit. I've been a bad father in the past, but I'm moving forward and bettering myself every day. It's not too late. OP further replies, I'm not trying to be mean to her, but how did I bully her? As a reminder, post 3 and 4 involved the fact that he wanted to kick her out because he felt that she was taking advantage of him, and he was pretty much forcing interactions with her. Again, with him thinking she's a child, OP responds, she isn't my roommate though, she's my daughter. We don't have the bond that a father and daughter should have. It breaks my heart into pieces when I see fathers spending time with their daughters in the city, sharing ice cream cones, swinging them around. I want to have a relationship like that. From the fifth post. Racist? ? Oh God, it's real. OP replies, but she isn't working right now. Being a student full-time doesn't pay the bills. The only reason she went to law school is because she got a scholarship for being half POC. So just as like a minor mental recap for myself, so he was wanting to kick her out, but also knows that she can't afford to, at least in his mind, because she's a full-time student. So the threat of kicking her out wasn't actually to kick her out, it was just to keep her in line. That's the only way that I can interpret this logic, because him threatening to kick her out, followed by him stating publicly that she can't afford to move out, definitely brings up some weird implications there about his actual intentions. Anyways, about her not being the brightest bulb, a commenter wisely replies, you judge people based on academic achievements and she is the one who's not smart? My man. OP stupidly replies, I only bring it up because she has a history of making bad decisions. To be honest, I was surprised when she mentioned going to law school. Ever since she was little, she wanted to be an author or write screenplays. I just thought someone with a better GPA and who is more academically inclined would do better in law school. A commenter wisely counters, provide us examples of making bad decisions, please. Getting B's is not an indication of failure to study. For all we know, she was in all honors AP and IB courses in high school, the hardest courses available to her, and taking 18 credits a semester in college while rocking it on the swim team. And you want her involved in some physical activity to keep herself well long term. Right now you list no bad decisions, i.e. skipping school to smoke dope with the town thugs. So right now you look like the idiot, not your daughter. OP replies, she took one AP class in high school, so my argument still remains. She was also caught smoking cigarettes when she was 17, and she was grounded for a month. My daughter did not do organized sports in college. She was too busy partying and apparently sneaking around with boys. She graduated with a 3.6 GPA and no academic achievements. Forgive me for being wrong, but law school is academically challenging. No. What a dick. One last random good one, found by you/Asher the Frost. In response to someone asking if perhaps he's just overreacting. No! She's always blown up at me before, always itching to get away from me, even when she was a preteen. I haven't hugged or kissed her in years because she'll physically push me off or duck away. My most vivid memory of her behavior is we were out at dinner as a family, and I put some of my food on her plate for her to try, and she yelled at me in front of the entire restaurant to not do that. She doesn't care who's around. She has to disrespect me. So I kind of gave my opinions and thoughts throughout the story as I went, but this is just a massive train wreck. This is definitely a father who's romanticized a relationship with his daughter that he lost because of his own actions. From his own admission and what he kind of slyly admitted, he was abusive to his daughter. He was angry and ill-tempered, and definitely did a lot of things that made his daughter lose complete and utter trust in him, to the point where, to me at least, it comes off that she's keeping him at arm's length for her own safety. And even though the father claims that he's since grown and gone to therapy and done better, every single step of the way where he gets a little bit of progress, he just somehow can't resist just grabbing the bat and swinging and just breaking things again. Like his destructive tendencies would make a bull in a china shop blush. Like, she's an adult. She made plans to go with her boyfriend to Mexico, without consulting her father, who has no legal authority over her, and who literally just told her that she has to move out, which then when she did move out, suddenly he was like, whoa, I meant like a year from now, hold up there. And now because she's going to Mexico for Christmas, he's threatening to file a police report for kidnapping charges. Like, buddy, foot off the gas, step on the brake, and think about what you're doing, because you destroyed your relationship with your daughter. At every single step, you claimed you were doing better, but, like, you just full throttled that shit off a cliff, man. I don't know what to tell you. Like, there were several times throughout this where I genuinely kind of started to feel bad for him, and I would actually root for the fact that maybe he'd be able to mend the relationship, but no. Instead, he shoots himself in the foot and screams at Jen, "Why'd you let me shoot myself in the foot? This is your fault." And it just happens over and over again. I can't even feel bad for the guy. Anyways, I think that's what we're gonna call it. I hope you enjoyed this extra long episode that was entirely dedicated to one post. Take care, everyone. Cue the outros. Don't forget, this is brought to you by GamerSupps. Use code ODDS at checkout. It's basically a caffeine powder that you put in your water, and I actually really like it. I use this on a daily basis. Don't forget that every purchase you make using code ODDS directly supports the channel. And if you want a personal recommendation from me, I would either recommend the Soda Pressing Pear or Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are currently my favorite flavors. And as a note, once we sell a certain amount of stuff, I get my own flavor and my own cup, and you all know I'm gonna choose some degenerate shit that's gonna make their PR team squirm. My goal is to make them regret partnering with me. So please, use code ODDS at checkout to make my dream come true of making a PR team squirm.